This week on Vegas Nation Blitz, we discuss Raiders owner Mark Davis's comments on if he thinks fans will attend home games this season. We hear from a former Raiders staffer who spent 3 decades with the team, and we get a history lesson on one of the Raiders' most prized possessions. All of that and so much more on Vegas Nation Blitz.
Excited to know where we're going to be playing, and excited to have a city that is excited about having us.
We are now the Las Vegas Raiders.
Welcome back for another week of Vegas Nation Blitz. I'm your host, Cassie Soto. Tons of breaking news has come out of the NFL the week leading up to NFL training camp. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Joining us is Raiders beat writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Vinny Bonsignore. Vinny, just about every big NFL player name took to Twitter on Sunday saying, #we want to play. They really wanted the NFL to get it together to outline some health and safety protocols for these guys as they return to training camp. And it looks like the players got what they wanted. What do we know about coronavirus testing for these players as they return to camp?
It looks like the players are getting more what they want as far as the protocols. They're going to get tested every day in training camp for the next 2 weeks or the first 2 weeks of training camp. After that, if the positive test rate falls below 5%, they'll move to every other day. If it stays at 5 or if it's above 5%, they'll continue to test every day. And anytime after those 2 weeks, even if it does fall below 5% and they go to every other day, if it rises back up above 5%, then it moves to everyday testing for COVID-19. So that was one of the issues that was outstanding and that the players wanted to get rectified. They wanted to be tested more frequently, and they got what they wanted.
Well, another big win for the Players Association, Vinny, is that the NFL has offered to completely scrap the preseason games. What do we see here as maybe some positives and negatives of not having any preseason games ahead of that regular season?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a mistake. I think they should play at least one, maybe even 2 preseason games. The players don't want to do it. I don't necessarily think it's all about safety. I just think that veteran players just don't want to go through the whole process of playing preseason games. Who do I think it hurts? Well, I think young players on the roster, on the back end of your roster that are trying to make a football team. I think about guys like Alec Ingold last year, a free agent who made the Raiders because of a great performances in training camp and in the preseason and all the way back to OTAs. Guys like that are not going to get the chance to be able to get on a football field. I think it's a little bit, they're overdoing a little bit by cutting down to 0 preseason games. But hey, the players wanted that, and it looks like the NFL might give them what they want in that regard as well.
Well, finally, in Raiders news for you here, Vinny, Raiders owner Mark Davis continues to be outspoken really on his uncertainty of this whole season, saying it's likely that fans will not be opening up that brand new Allegiant Stadium here in Las Vegas. Heck, he even said that he probably won't even be attending games. Do you think that that's true there, that, he's just really taken this to heart? If fans can't go, I won't go?
I think he is. And, I've talked extensively to Mark Davis about this a couple of weeks ago. And he just doesn't, he feels like the contributions that fans have made, buying season tickets, purchasing their season seat license, which all of that money goes toward construction costs of the stadium. The fans have a major hand in this stadium being built, Allegiant Stadium here in Las Vegas, and he doesn't want to shut anybody out, let alone everybody. So in his mind, he's going to stand with the fans on this. I give him a lot of credit because he's the one owner, and it's not just him sticking up for the fans in this regard. And we all know why fans aren't going to be able to be a part of it. It's for safety reasons, but nevertheless, he's going to stand in solidarity with them. But he's also talked about player safety. Are we doing the right thing by playing the NFL season this year? And I think that he's, him being the only owner that's standing up and publicly saying what a lot of people are actually thinking, I give him a lot of credit. He's kind of growing into his role as the owner. Remember, he followed in the footsteps of his iconic father, Al Davis. It's not always easy to follow in somebody's footsteps that are that big of shoes to fill, but he's becoming his own man, and I think his father would be proud of him for taking a stand the way he is as the only owner that's doing that.
All right, Vinny. Well, thank you, as always, for the updates.
All right, you got it. Take care.
In other NFL news, New England Patriots quarterback Cam Newton is appearing in a new campaign for PETA. The former Panther says going vegan has helped him transform his body. The New York Jets and New York Giants said in a joint statement that they will not have fans at their home games until further notice. And former Raiders wide receiver Antonio Brown said in a series of tweets that he is done playing football. Brown played one game last season with the Patriots. For our weekly Raiders social media update, let's go ahead and bring in Las Vegas Review-Journal social media manager Adrian Iadarko. Adrian, things are still very uncertain of what's going on around the league. Will fans be able to attend games? Will there even be a season? But one thing is for sure is that if there is a season, Raiders quarterback Derek Carr is all in.
Yeah, he just posted a new photo on his Instagram. It's him and his teammates. And the caption really got me. He said, "It's our time, believe that, or get out our way." And that's a very bold and aggressive caption for him. So I think he's really feeling that sense of urgency, and rightfully so. You know, new city, new stadium, new weapons on offense. So there's no more excuses. If he doesn't have a great year this year, I think even more people will start to question him at that quarterback position.
Yeah, you mentioned those weapons, and a new weapon, or one of the newest weapons, has been officially locked in for him. The team has come to terms with Henry Ruggs III, their number 12 overall pick. What can you tell us about that deal?
Yeah, the Raiders made it official. Henry Ruggs just signed reportedly a $16.6 million deal over 4 years. So he got this deal done just in time as the Raiders rookies are reporting to camp this week.
Well, fans, unfortunately, this is Adrian's final segment with us, as he will be moving on from our Vegas Nation team. Adrian, I know it's been a pleasure for myself working with you. I know fans have appreciated all your takes on all things Raiders. We wish you nothing but the best moving forward.
Oh, thank you so much, Cassie. I appreciate it. And I know you're going to keep Vegas Nation alive and rolling.
All right. Once again, for the final time, that was Las Vegas Review-Journal social media manager Adrian Iadarko. Well, fans, be sure to stick around after the break, because I will be speaking with a man who worked for the Raiders for over 3 decades and got to see a side of former Raiders owner Al Davis that not very many people saw. You'll want to stick around for that interview. We'll be right back. Who was the last person to light the Al Davis Memorial Torch in Oakland? Was it A, Mike Haynes, B, Howie Long, C, Matt Millen, or D, Charles Woodson? Stay tuned for the answer.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to spend time with a killer?
When you're ordered to kill somebody,
Well, I did exactly that.
you better do it. If you don't, they're going to kill you.
And you can hear all about it on Mobbed Up, a new podcast from the Las Vegas Review-Journal and the Mob Museum, chronicling the rise and fall of the mob in Las Vegas. Binge the first 2 episodes and subscribe to Mobbed Up right now on your preferred podcasting platform. Just search for Mobbed Up.
Get ready for every Raiders game with us. Vegas Nation Game Day will give you everything you need to know about each week's matchup.
I'm excited.
Sundays at 9 a.m. starting in September on Your View. Vegas Nation Game Day coming this September. Welcome back into Vegas Nation Blitz. I'm your host, Cassie Soto. Every week, we try to bring you Raiders players interviews and special guest interviews. So this week, I will be joined by a very special man who spent over 3 decades working with the Silver and Black and got to know former Raiders owner Al Davis very well and see a side of him that not very many people saw. That man is Jon Kingdon, the former director of college scouting and the co-author of Al Davis Behind the Raiders Shield. And he joins me now. Jon, I appreciate you stopping by.
Cassie, a pleasure to finally meet you and to be on the show. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Well, let's just start with a little bit of history here. Jon, Las Vegas is, of course, getting a franchise with a very rich history. This city has never had professional football before. So how would you sort of explain to new Raiders fans that golden era in the 70s and 80s? How would you summarize that time for the Raiders franchise?
Well, it was really very consistent domination. Right from when Mr. Davis got there in '63 and took over a team that was 1-13 and turned it around and had the great turnaround to 10-4. I didn't get there till '78. That was John Madden's last year, and then when Tom took over, that was just another step into great success. Whereas John had only made it to one Super Bowl. Tom made it to two and won both of them.
Would the Raiders be what they are without Al Davis?
No. Right from the start, he really put his imprimatur on the team, and he set a standard of excellence with the players and the character of the organization. I think he took great pride in being at the forefront of the racial advancement of players in the NFL. And you look towards, obviously, Art Shell was the first African American coach, but it really went way back. He really set a standard along with a lot of the other American Football League teams in scouting the historically black colleges, and got tremendous success from those players there. People like Art Shell and Raymond Chester and Willie Brown. I think Al really liked that aspect. And not so much to be a leader, but it was a way to be really successful with it in an area that people were not taking advantage of.
Well, in your book, you, of course, mention Al's bold personality, the fact that he wasn't afraid to speak his mind and call people out. And, of course, fans will remember him for those dark shades and the sort of mysterious, persona that he had. But one part in your book, Jon, that actually made me laugh out loud involved a fat burger. Can you please tell fans the story there about you taking Mr. Al Davis to a fat burger?
So one night I picked him up, and this was down in LA, in Marina Del Rey, if anyone's familiar with that. And he lived at the Marina City Club, and I was about to drop him off. He says, I'm really kind of hungry. Is there a burger place around here? And I knew the area. I said, well, there's a place called Fat Burger just down the road. I kind of like. Well, let's try it. All right, let's try it. And, see if I like it. So we walk into the place, and it was just the two of us. And the guy at the counter says, "Mr. Davis, back so soon? What is this, the third time this week?" And for the only time, I believe, in all the years I knew Al Davis, I looked at him, and he looked sheepish and almost a little bit. I just said, "God, I just love this place." I said, "You're entitled."
Looking back in retrospect, now we can, of course, see that Al Davis, it was his way or the highway with who you guys were picking up on your team. But looking back now, I mean, heck, you even have a chapter title in your book called The Hall of Famers That Got Away. Who, in your opinion, is the biggest miss for the Raiders franchise?
The way we would do it, we would meet our scouting department for about 10 days. We would put the whole draft together, submit it to Mr. Davis, how we have everyone down in rounds by positions, the whole thing. And then we would meet with he and the coaches for another 2 weeks, and he would, in his mind, fine tune it. And that year, we had Brett Favre in the first round and Todd Marinovich in the second round. And, and before we knew it, as we were meeting with the coaches, Favre got put in the second and Marinovich got put in the first.
Well, on that note, since we're talking about the draft, we try to bring in our fans here, and we put out a poll asking if anyone had any questions for you. And we got a response here from Vegas Nation fan Jay Vargas, and he is personally asking you, how much did the Jamarcus Russell pick set back the Raiders, and would you have taken Megatron instead, now knowing what we know?
Well, actually, it set the team back a couple of years. Jamarcus was incredibly talented. And the problem with Jamarcus was that, when we went, you go to the school and you do as much background as you can. And they said they needed someone to wake him up in the morning to get to class, someone to get him to practice, someone to make sure that he got on the bus and things like that. So yeah, Megatron was very much the guy we would have loved to have gotten.
In your book, you write 2 chapters about a guy named Jon Gruden, now the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. What about Gruden makes him such a good fit?
I think in a lot of ways he compared to Al Davis. Al, had all the energy in the world when he was coaching. I've talked to people. There was a guy, Dan Connors, who played for the Raiders and scouted with us. And one time I asked, and he played for Al, and I said, how was he as a coach? Because he says he was great. I mean, he was on top of things, and the energy was there, and he didn't let you get away with anything, which was how Jon was when he stepped right in. From the first day, from the first practice, was yelling at people. You're not lined up right, and it was a totally different environment. And I remembered after that practice, Jon and I happened to be walking up the stairs, and I said, "Coach, that was really a great practice." And he goes, "Jon, I'm going to make these players hate my guts." And there was some profanity in there as well, and I've cleaned it up. But I kind of looked around. I said, "Wow, there's a new sheriff in town."
Jon, well, thank you so much for sharing some time and some incredible stories about Al Davis. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for giving me this time to talk with you and the fans out there.
Well, once again, that was Jon Kingdon, co-author of Al Davis, Behind the Raiders Shield. You can, of course, find that on Amazon. Stay with us. We will be right back.
All your listeners and followers, the best name of any podcast in the world is podcast.
Nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever faked
Not that we know of.
No.
When you work with Prince, you got to get used to the fact that he changes musicians like underwear.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, he's a quarterback in the Boston area.
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
The new and improved Vegas Nation app has all your Las Vegas Raiders news, videos, podcasts, stats, standings, stadium progress, and information on the upcoming NFL Draft in Las Vegas, Nevada. Download now in Google Play or the App Store.
The answer is D. Charles Woodson, the former defensive back, lit the torch on December 15th before the Raiders' final game at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vegas Nation Blitz. I'm your host Heidi Fang, and I'm joined with our NFL writer Adam Hill, and we're going to discuss here what is happening between the NFL and the NFLPA just prior to training camps getting underway. Rookies have reported. So Adam, right now the NFL and the NFLPA have not come to terms on how they're going to handle COVID testing and procedures with all of the teams, actually, as the NFL season gets underway. So how much of a concern right now is this, and how wide of a gap is there between the NFL and the NFLPA on coming to terms?
There's other things that both sides want, and they're using some of these things to get in the right direction. That is how these things tend to work. They seem like they're pretty close on safety. For example, the players want to be tested every day. Also, what is the opt-out date? You have to decide by August 1st if you want to opt out of the season and take whatever is going to be offered to those guys that choose to opt out. Also, what happens when a player tests positive? How long do they get put on the injured list? Is there a separate injured list? How does the pay structure work? Some players have in their contract a different level of pay if they're on the injured list. Is that going to happen if you're on the COVID list? Those sorts of things need to be worked out, and I think they will. The bigger issue is going to be the economic side of things, and man, that is going to be really, really difficult because a lot can happen here in terms of what the salary cap is going to look like the next couple of years, depending on how much revenue the NFL makes this year.
We've heard that there are some players who have concerns about the opt-out clauses. What are you hearing on their end?
Yeah, they want to make sure that they're not penalized going forward. They want to make sure that you're not, playing just because you have to make the paycheck. Next year, the owners want to take all of this money and really just take the hit right away. So the salary cap could go down as much as $70 million. That means a lot of players that are mid-level players, that are guys that make a couple $1 million, maybe been in the league for a few years and had some success, they'll just be cut. How will that relate to how players choose to opt out? Like, all those factors are still to be determined.
Still a lot to work out there as training camps are getting closer and closer to the full team reporting and being underway. For right now, everybody stay tuned, because we're going to look back on a moment in history and find out how the Al Davis Memorial Torch came to be. The fire that burns brightest in the Raiders organization is the will to win. The words of Al Davis still emanate throughout the Raiders organization and were the words echoing over a Raiders crowd the first time a torch was lit in his honor. The iconic owner, general manager, and coach of the Raiders passed away on October 8th, 2011 in Oakland, California. Just 1 week later, the Raiders had erected a 12-foot memorial torch for him. It was lit for the first time at halftime during the team's home game against the Cleveland Browns by the Silver and Black's former coach and Hall of Famer, John Madden. Throughout the years, Raiders alumni, celebrities, former coaches, and even the Oakland Police Department lit the torch during its 9-year stay at the Oakland Coliseum. The tradition of having someone light the torch will not be carried on in Las Vegas. The new 85-foot Al Davis Memorial Torch at Allegiant Stadium, which has been dubbed the world's largest 3D printed object ever made, will burst through a giant hole through multiple levels of the stadium and can be seen through its lanai doors. The Oakland Coliseum's torch will now be on display at the team's headquarters in Henderson, Nevada. That'll do it for this moment in Raiders history. We'll be back next week.
The road ahead for the Las Vegas Raiders has been paved and landscaped as crews have just over 1 week left to hit that substantial completion date of Allegiant Stadium on July 31st. Cassie Soto here alongside Allegiant Stadium insider Mick Akers. Mick, a lot of people thought that Allegiant Stadium was not going to be done on time, but in fact, we are hearing that not only is it on time, it is also on budget. Isn't that right?
Yeah, ever since the whole process started, even, before they even started digging in the ground to get the groundwork going, people were doubting the tight time frame. But, they haven't, experienced the Las Vegas building process. Obviously, a lot of experience out here. And the people that were building it, Mortensen McCarthy, have a lot of experience in the arena, the stadium. So obviously they're ready to go. So they've always pushed it. Hey, we're going to do it. We're going to have it on time and on budget. You hear these rumors come out and people are like, oh, we heard it's this behind this, or they're going over budget here, but so far, a couple days left here until the July 31st date, and mentioned on time, on budget. This they've been saying ever since.
Well, Mick, as teams return to training camp in the coming days, we're getting a few more sneak peeks of that Raiders Henderson training facility. It's an incredible building. Can you just one more time give us the specs there of where the Raiders' new headquarters will be?
Yeah, so it's about 13 miles away from the Allegiant Stadium. You got the field house in there, 1.5 indoor fields. Some of the pictures coming out, you've seen the weight room. Raiders, it looks like, black Raiders turf with the striping and everything. They got the weights all throughout with the Raiders emblems on there. Plenty of Raiders logos inside there. Just One Baby is on the wall as well. And then you see the 1.5 fields. It's all ready to go, striped with the Raiders. Looks like they're about, they're all coming in. They're starting to move in this week. Some of the training camp kicking off, some of the rookies and stuff. So, finally we've seen it kind of going up, and now people are getting in there and, getting some work in there.
All right, Mick. Well, thank you as always for the updates.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for tuning in, as always, to Vegas Nation Blitz. For our Vegas Nation crew, I'm Cassie Soto. We'll see you next week.